Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our November 17th council meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Here.
Mr. Menegini?
Here.
Dr. Hayes?
Here.
Mr. Gottstein?
Here.
Mr. Ball?
Yep.
Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of November 3rd. Any additions or corrections?
I make a motion we approve the minutes for the regular meeting on November 3rd, 2014.
Support.
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yep.
Mr. Oja?
Yes. Approval manifest 2014-21 in the amount of $401,608.91. Lee.
Page one, I got a few items here. Page one, I'm sure it's just a little flip-flop here. Things are switched around. General electric chairperson, X amount of dollars. General election worker got more than the chairperson. Is that accidentally flipped? Because I see the rest of them are pretty much the same, the 230.
No, I don't think it's wrong.
Just curiosity more than anything, Trish.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had Nancy go with me up to the county to test the ballots, and I
Oh.
had Nancy come with me. Marge couldn't come
Oh,
a couple
okay. That,
occasions, so she had more hours.
okay, that'll explain it then. Okay. Halfway down under administration, financial, legal, membership renewal for Ray. I have no problem with that, but what does the ICMA stand for, Ray?
International City Managers Association.
Oh, okay. Next page. I gotta question the cost here. Under attorney's fees, Mount Salello, it seems high to me. Of course, I have no idea what was involved in it. Police complaint warrant assistance for almost $1,700. I mean, will we get this money back if it's we file a complaint against somebody and they go to court, or?
Well, the complaint is all of the tickets and all the activities,
Okay.
and we go through our attorney.
It wasn't just a single complaint.
It's not a single complaint, it's just
It's
a
a whole-
multiple,
oh,
right? It's just
okay.
a month-long activity.
And then just above that, Oak Crest bylaws, shouldn't that be under golf course? It says council something something prep and Oak Crest bylaws?
Yeah, it's probably all on the same, set of reviews, so. Actually, what we're doing right now is because we're budgeted, in 201, in admin. Actually, all of the attorney's fees right now are going into that because that's where we have it budgeted.
Oh,
But we are
okay.
keeping track, so when we go through our budget, we can then break them down as we move forward, because we always had Jay's amount budgeted, and then we never broke them
We
down.
broke it down like that.
I believe in your packet, Lee, there should have been a sheet like this
Yes,
that showed the breakdown.
yeah. I was just wondering, thinking maybe that should have been billed
Yeah.
out to the golf course,
Oh, yeah.
whatever part of that.
In the future, but, like I said, we have it all budgeted
In the
right now.
future, okay. Page 7, I'm sure we've asked for this before, and I don't know how hard it would be. Like there's the city hall bond payment, 12,000, fire hall, 10,000 something, street improvement, something. How hard would it be to just have on there, okay, this is our payment, this is how much more we have to go for X number of years, like a house payment book that you get from the bank? Would that be a hard thing to do, Mary? Like here, the 12,740, okay, that's payment number 522, whatever, and we have 200 X number to go at such and such.
I don't know if there's room to put that information on the manifest,
Okay, could you just,
but what we can do is, when we have payments on the manifest, I can give that information to Ray, and he can put it in his memo.
okay, good, that'll be fine. And I think I had that on a couple other things here too. Okay, here's another typical example of that, which is similar to that. New vehicles, page 9, utility sales and service 2014, new bucket truck, partial payment. What's the rest of the payment? How hard would it be to have that in there saying, hey, here's 64,000 and we owe another X amount of dollars? That's also some more information I'd like to get every time. And same with page 10, electric bonds, the interest on the electric bonds. How much more do we have to go on that? And one other item here. I'm trouble reading my notes. Page 12, halfway down, Great Lakes Petroleum Service, piping, pump out, clean tanks, WWTP for $4,800. Exactly what's involved in that? So it looks like a pretty big project.
We had to remove the underground diesel fuel tanks in
Oh.
order to qualify to get rural development loan for the wastewater plant improvements. So we had to take out 5 tanks that are underground
Ooh,
and
that many.
have the oil tested and, yeah, dispose of it properly.
Joe, is this out of like the old CSO building and stuff like that? or-
Yes, all the lift stations and the CSOs,
Okay.
yeah.
What were they originally put in there for?
Well, there's a diesel generator inside the building.
Okay,
And in the new project, we're going to be having an above-ground tank and a generator outside the building, not
Okay.
in the building.
Okay, that's all I have.
Dr.
Only comment I had would be on the, under buildings and grounds, for energy control and design, 21,000. I know we've been through this a lot, but I wonder if you could just explain again, maybe to the people out in the audience, that why we're spending $21,000 in upgrade for a fairly new building.
Well, it's the control system in the building from 2001, and it wasn't working properly. So from a control standpoint, it's not really fairly new. It's close to 15 years old. That's the first payment. That's actually $29,000 for total. So they're just finished up late last week. They had to come in and actually balance and work the electronics. So that was just their first installation payment.
That's the only question I had.
George?
I think page 8. Tricia, that $1,259.30 for Spring Valley Ranch. Refuse to pay on that. Page 8, right down on the bottom of the top column. Joe or Ray, We Energies pole contacts for 65 poles. Is, now this I know goes back many years. Do we get reimbursed from We Energies for the contact they have on ours? And do you know offhand what it is?
I don't know offhand what it is, but yes, we do. We're at 950, is it, Mary, a contact?
Okay.
Somewhere
It's-
right in
it's-
there.
Okay, it is an,
And these are, we don't have power on these poles. These are in the areas where we have cable TV but no power, and we're on some of We Energies poles
Yeah.
in those areas.
but this goes both ways.
Yeah, it goes both ways.
That was all
Yeah.
my question was.
Yep.
Page 10, right down on the bottom, I think Joe or Ray read, what is the total payment on that partial there, Joe, on your bucket truck?
198,000.
And what was this now? You have to make this payment before it goes in
What, they
production?
gave us an $800 discount if we paid for the chassis when it was delivered. This is the chassis payment.
Okay. No problem. Page 10 for the golf course. Just more out of curiosity, that reimbursement for cart lock storage. Mary, is this money that you collect in during the course of the year for storage and locker rent and all that? And then,
A lot of people, when they pay their memberships, will pay both, and then we reimburse that to Oakcrest, because that's their money.
okay, where does improvement funds come from? How did he get that then?
Do you wanna?
At $2,500?
That's an assessment for the clubhouse. They have an improvement fund to do some work around the clubhouse. So they did a one-year special assessment to collect money for that project.
And that was here, and you just,
Right, they're taking that on, and so they're doing that 1 year, to get that it's landscaping and a lot of work
yeah,
on the outside.
no, okay, that's fine, Ray.
With that one, if you don't mind, George, I was gonna ask about that one too.
And-
I have some issue with that because that's a rate increase. Every member has to pay an additional $25 when they sign up for their membership. That's a rate increase. Then that rate increases have to come through here. That never came through here.
Yeah, we've done that before out there, so I guess that's why it wasn't thought of to come through. They have a maintenance fee as well that they apply. So, I mean, it's been done in the past, especially something like this, it's a specific project, so it's an assessment. I mean, we've done that in the past a number of different times, so I guess it's not thought that it would come through as a rate increase.
If every member has to pay it on every membership, it's a rate increase. And it's a rate increase that, one, it all goes to them, which is fine, it's their project. But it still should have come through here, still should have been approved through here, because the council is the one who sets their membership rates.
Okay, I mean, it's an assessment. It's not for operating, and that's, like I said, it's been done before, so I guess that's why, if that's what the council would like to do in the future, to review those assessments.
Well, I
Have to come up.
don't appreciate the golf commission doing an end around to the council on rates.
I don't think first of all, they're not doing it purposely. I mean, I've been through all those conversations. I mean, I believe it was in the minutes throughout the fall when we talked about it. We had it many times at the golf commission meeting, and it was just something they were trying to figure out. They have different ways of raising money out there to do different projects. This past year, they had a lot of work that they had in the clubhouse, in the kitchen especially, a lot of things, equipment that had problems, and so I think they just looked at the condition of the entrance when you come into the clubhouse, and it just looked in disrepair, and so they said we need to fix that up so it has a better presentation for people coming up, and so they said, well, let's, if we can do that assessment, for this year to try and raise some money and see how it goes.
Yeah,
So,
I do
Sorry,
have no problem.
That
with
was, sorry, George, I just, while we were on that.
No, that's a problem, it's fine.
Go ahead.
Then on the next page, at $3,500, the share of maintenance fee right up on this, for the golf course. Is there an explanation on that?
well, again, that's the same as the assessment that we just talked about. They have a maintenance fee. They've had this for a number of years, and it's for, again, fixing the
Right.
clubhouse,
Maybe it's a foolish question. Why didn't they keep it all under the same bracket? Or
Well, I think that because,
bookkeeping reasons?
yeah, because when you're working on assessments, specific assessments, they wanted to differentiate, so the members knew what the money was being raised
Yeah.
for. I remember a number of years ago, they did the same thing for paving the parking lot down at the cart sheds and doing some cart shed work. I think that's actually how the maintenance fee, started, was they had promised and to do that work, and they just didn't have the funds to do it, and so they put together the maintenance fee to do some of that work.
Okay,
And so that's what
no
helps
problem.
them.
Just curiosity question more than anything else. And then the final question on page 12, right in the middle of the top column, at $1,397 for Ryan Law. Was that our portion, Ray, of the
That
tour
is-
contract deal?
That is our portion.
Okay,
getting the
is
sewer
that
back.
settled now? Is that done, overdone?
Yeah,
off?
no, it's not totally done. I mean, the actual physical work is done. Now it's a matter of final approval, and it's probably going to take a visit down there. I'm probably going to have to go down to one of their meetings. So,
Yeah, how many years has that been dragging on, eh?
yeah.
That's all I have.
Chris?
All mine were asked and answered.
The one I had has been already talked about. So, with that, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion, we approve manifest 2014-21 in the amount of $401,608.91.
I'll support.
Motion made by Chris, supported by George. Roll call.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yep.
Mr. Oja?
No.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Okay, does anyone from the audience wish to address the council on the minutes manifest or any agenda item? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. If not, there'll be a time for further comment on any subject at the end of the meeting.
Sally Warner, I live on 7th Avenue. We were told that we couldn't shovel on the boulevard.
That's for, wait for the end of the meeting. There's
Oh,
another
I
time
thought
at
you
the,
just said to come up here and do it.
it's minutes manifest or agenda. If it's not on there, there'll be time at the end of the meeting. So you'll get your time.
Yeah.
It'll only be in a couple minutes anyways. Okay, we have one item on the agenda for this evening, and that is the well site timber sale. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The one item we have is we put out for bids for timber cutting on property down by the well site, and we only received one bid from Nichols Logging for $4,300. I don't know if you have any questions. It's the property that's due east of the actual physical well.
We advertise like normal.
Yeah, we advertised, and Otto has been working with us on it, so.
What was his estimate?
Roughly about the same. So I think it's in line with our foresting.
How many acres is this, Ray? Approximately?
Approximately about 10 acres. Yeah, it's not a very big piece, but it's been sitting there and doing nothing for us, and so we said, let's trim it out.
The popples, George, are getting so large, they're falling over.
Yeah, otherwise you're gonna
So-
lose it.
Yeah.
Are there any plans for the funds? Do they go into the,
Right. All of our timber cutting has been going into Parks and Rec.
Is there, Ray, is there any time frame on this thing?
I believe he's looking to do it this winter.
Oh, this one. And one other little thing here. On this application or bid, what's Frog Aspen Timber Sale? Is that the name of the territory down there or what?
No, that's the type, probably the type of aspen. Or,
Frog Aspen, that's
well,
a type?
that's,
Okay.
Can I answer that?
yeah, go ahead. I mean,
Every sale, Lee, has got a name.
Oh,
And you'd be surprised at funny names they come up with.
okay.
Somebody they go by, just like the old Indian saying, the minute I come out of the teepee, I
Yeah,
saw the
okay.
first thing, well, that's how this comes about.
Okay.
so it has no meaning. He's
No
never
reason,
never
rhyme or
asked and
reason
answered. So
for
it's-
it whatsoever.
Okay, caught my attention.
Any other questions or comments? Not, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that Nichols Logging be awarded the timber harvest for the $4,340.
Second.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Abstain.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
yes?
And that's our business this evening. Does anyone from the audience wish to address the council on any subject? Please come up to the podium. Now you get, it's procedural. That's,
Yes, I understand. I just came to talk about the shoveling on the boulevards. I shoveled on that boulevard for 31 years, and all of a sudden you can't shovel on them anymore?
Ray, what was decided with that?
Well, the way that the ordinance was, the reason that we went ahead with the right-of-way ordinance is because we've had a couple of major problems, and you weren't one of them, okay? But some other areas where our current rules, they were taking all of the snow from the parking lot and sticking it right on the corner by an alley where we couldn't, you couldn't have sight distance. Over sidewalk, on alley. And there were probably, help me out, Joe, probably 3 or 4 that we really, on an
Actually, my
annual basis.
piles get high too where you can't see.
Yeah, and I know, I mean, but, so we needed to have some way of, if they wouldn't work with us, to get them off of that area. Because we said along the highway, we'll come and pick that up when we get a
Yeah.
chance. But when they stick it like that in one snow, and you can't see around it. So, we put that in the ordinance. Now, of course, as soon as the first person gets talked to, they point a finger, and the second person, they point a finger, and the third person. And we spent the better part of a week, going through and talking to people, and you got talked to. The way the ordinance is written, and we went through it, attorneys and I went through it to make sure. It's written such that if it's the apron snow and sidewalk snow, it's public snow, can go on the boulevard. If it's your private snow, it's not supposed to go on the boulevard. That's the simple form, that's how it's written.
Well, I was told that if my pile gets too high, if somebody gets an accident, I'm responsible for it. I mean, come on. I seen you even putting it on the boulevard.
Yeah, I know that you said that, especially to the chief, but if you watch what I'm doing, I'm only taking the apron snow, and actually when I blow
Well,
it,
that's all I actually do too, is take the apron right there. 'Cause
Right.
they plow you in about 5 times, when you got snow.
Right, and I
that
blow
plow
it, and
plows
it-
you in steady.
and it really takes a number of snowfalls before it can get to that. And really, it's a 3-foot height. That's really the height of it. All the other snow from the driveway, I'm taking it all the way across and putting it in the front yard. So I'm not taking any of the snow.
Right, I do from the driveway and put it in the front yard. It's all that comes on the bottom, but I'm one that can't stand it to be on the bottom, so I shovel every time they come by.
Right.
So that makes my pile higher and higher. But there's nothing else you can do with that snow on the bottom, like you said,
Yeah,
on the bottom, it's so
I
heavy.
do the same thing. I take it and when
Yeah.
I blow it out across the,
Actually, you gotta
across the
shovel it
boulevard.
half the time, because that thick stuff won't go through your snow blower, So, I just
Part-
wanted to know if,
Part of that right-of-way was that on the corners where there could be sight problems, it has to be kept under the 3.5 feet.
yeah, 3.5 feet,
well then,
3.5.
do you,
3.5.
then actually, do you come and pick it up then?
Yeah, I mean, we spend a lot of time all winter picking up
Okay,
snow
I
banks.
know yous do,
Yeah.
but the way it sounded like you couldn't go, if you went more than 3.5 feet, you're gonna get fined for it.
Well, if it's coming from, especially if it's coming from driveways and your personal snow, we want you to stop
No.
doing it. Because,
Right.
when you put it to the back of the property, like along the highway, we've said that we're gonna work with the businesses, we're working with people to come in and get that snow, because we know how difficult it is with the small spaces along, like I said, especially along the highway. And that snow is,
Then you
like
talk
you said,
about-
it's so dirty, it's heavy, it's hard to deal with. I do
Yes.
3 of them, and I don't,
Right,
before I
I
even
see
get
it.
to my yard, I do 3 of them, so, it's
But then they
tough.
come through the alley and they push up so much snow there too.
Right,
And besides, they push it all in your yard as you're going down the alley. And you know where you've gotta come in
yeah,
my
and,
alley.
and there's really not much they can do. I mean, they gotta get the snow out too,
Right.
so it's difficult.
But I mean, where do you put it? You have to put it somewhere,
Yeah.
And I actually was going across the alley, cleaning the alley, and I was putting it on your mother's boulevard there. You know what I mean? But there's nowhere else to put
I
it.
wonder where that snow was coming from.
That's for me.
See, because I go all the way across, because I can't put it there. I've only got a
But your
strip
mother
that big.
has a boulevard there, I don't.
Yeah.
That's where they come right into my yard, so.
And that's not a bad spot. I mean, but I'm gonna go across the other side, because it'll get too high if I try to put all ours there.
Yeah, well,
But that's the whole point of it. And, if it is just that apron that's causing that high bank,
Yeah.
I mean, then we're gonna have to work, closely to keep it down, because, and coming out of the alley, like
but I have a
in your
habit of
specific
putting all
spot.
that- must shovel on one side,
Right.
So he told me next time shovel it on that side, It must just be the way I'm right-handed, It's like, it seems like everything's going on one side
But
instead
I
of
know
the
how hard
other.
it is to go, you know, you split
Yeah.
that apron in half because to take that heavy snow all the way across the apron. I mean, I do it, but I got the snow blower and I, you know, I work
I
the
see
heck
the
out
bottom
of it.
of your apron looks awful. Come look at mine, it's nice and clean.
Yeah, no, I have a hard time with that, so. I figure it's gonna melt and melt back into the
You
road.
probably will.
So, like I said, I got 3 of them, Sally, so.
Oh, I know, I'm
Well,
sure you do.
just for everybody, with picking it up, that where we're going to, especially along the highway there, you gotta give the crews a chance to pick it up. They're not gonna be there the same day it snows to clean that up.
We never
We've got-
did
they've
tell
got
them to
other-
be there the
Well, I
same
know, but
day.
I'm just, this is for just everybody, not just
Right.
you, but, they'll get to it, but it's gonna be when we can. If we're cleaning up the city, we're gonna do that first, before we come move banks. We're not gonna put that as a priority.
The ones we really have trouble with, they're definitely coming off their own parking lot and then making those banks even worse. You know, from a short-term standpoint, when you come up on the alley and there's a number of them around like that, I mean, you can actually see before you hit the bank. I mean, you're not gonna come up there,
Yeah.
you know, if you come out there, you're gonna be able to see a little bit, but we do wanna get that off we're gonna have to come and get that
And
off.
then that little yellow piece of junk you have that goes and does these sidewalks. Well, I did my whole sidewalk. He comes by and he just buried me. The whole sidewalk, buried me back in. I was all shoveled. Why did he even come on my sidewalk?
Well, he's responsible to go up and down and
Yeah,
there's,
but-
most people don't shovel the sidewalks, you know,
Well,
so.
but I do.
It'd be nice if everybody did. It looks
mean,
very
mine
good.
is-
Right, and we
You
wouldn't
know
have
what
to
I
do
mean?
that.
Mine was nice and clean, and he come with that auger, and he just shoveled me all in. So I had to go reshovel that whole front highway again. Look by your mother's, you'll see how bad that little yellow thing does. You can't even walk the sidewalks.
It's just a little bit wider than our.
But he
our
did the
walks.
wide sidewalks too and left this much on them.
Yeah.
Because I did the other side on the wide, and he still left a couple inches on it.
Well, we'll talk to him about some of
And
that.
it's gotta be lowered, but if the people got the sidewalks cleaned, tell them not to go on them.
But he's doing the whole run, so it's, your property's clean, but if the next one isn't, he's doing the whole run end to end. So he's
But
getting
he-
everybody, whether it's done or not.
He could go around it, Jeremy. because
I
he
seen him
starts
go
at-
around.
He starts at the alley. There's no reason why he can't go on the highway and go down to the intersection, go around it.
And
I
then
mean,
he
a
was,
little bit of common sense here would help.
right, especially when you have it all clean for people to walk.
I-
I see people walking on the highway, I don't like that. I like rather have my
Well,
sidewalk
that's why we
clean.
have him.
I
That's why we
got the
have him
same
do it.
problem, Sally, but I mean, he starts right from the highway and goes down, but I mean, I do my whole block too.
Yeah,
But I mean,
he buried me, so I had to start over again, and then he blew it all in my yard. Instead of blowing it on the boulevard where it should have been blown.
We've talked to them, they're gonna be blowing it on the boulevard from now on.
Yeah, we've,
Okay.
We
it's an
reminded
operation.
them that they should be blowing the public snow back to the public.
well, I'll go defend them. I mean, you know, most people aren't like
Right,
Well,
Sally. But, I mean, he blows it all on my yard and I'm on the corner, so are you. I mean, I don't care if he blows it. To me, it's off the sidewalk, blow it where you want to, I don't care. I mean, if it bothers her.
but
you
I
know,
got all
if
the
he-
salt.
If he should know her,
You know, the salt from the highway and that, and
well, I get the whole load of it
Yeah.
because it comes right off the highway and runs right down the sidewalk, right in, all the way down the block. So, but it's give or take, Sally, you know? Some
Okay.
people don't mind it, I don't mind it. Some people don't like it like you. I mean, it's preference. I mean, but it's hard for them to know
yeah.
who wants it, who's okay with them blowing it on there, and who's okay with, or don't want it on there, like I said,
so,
so.
when possible,
Why don't you put a flag up in your yard, don't blow the snow here.
when possible, if there's a
Pointed arrow
boulevard,
across the-
when possible, if there's a boulevard, they're gonna be putting it onto the boulevard. There's some spots where the sidewalk is right next to the highway, that's gonna have to go into the yard. Or right next to the road, there's no boulevard to put it on. We can't put it back out in the highway.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to address the council?
John Nigling, I own John's Auto Works. And I would think most of this ordinance you guys changed is because of me and a couple other people in town. What would you like us to do with this snow? If I put it in the one corner of the park, and I've actually been accused of not working with you guys to do this, to haul the snow. When Fred Smith was here, when I opened that place over, I think it's 15 years ago, I went into that place. I was pushing my snow with a four-wheeler. I put it up on the boulevard, you guys would come clean it up. When you guys had time, you just come through with a snow blower. Then Fred comes and says, no, you can no longer do that. Oh, I said, Fred, I can't haul, he wants me to haul the snow all the way around my building, front of the building, to the corner, and then push it down the side. How am I gonna do that with a four-wheeler? So I spent $5,000 and bought a Boss snowplow. I think that's working with you guys. He says, haul it around the building, we'll pick it up. Nobody ever showed up for it. A whole year. So now, naturally, I'm mad. I'm gonna put it back on the corner again. And it gets picked up there. So I put it back on the corner again. You go round and round, they leave it there. Next thing you know, they want me to put it back by the telephone pole. That really doesn't work with the way my business is set up because I have 2 garage doors on that side. When a tow truck comes in, they drop the cars on that side of the building so I can push them in the building. Well, for the snowplow, that big pile of snow is back there, I can't get behind it to push them in. So it makes it a little difficult. But I worked with you 1 year. And it got picked up once. And I had a giant pile of snow. The drain froze there. I had a puddle, a big ice bank. Really, what do you want us to do with this stuff? If it's on the corner, it's easier for you guys to pick it up. Now, you guys picked it up last week. Okay, you did. You picked it up. I still have this much snow laying there that's a big, giant ice pile. So now, I still can't use that part of the parking lot. What is the right way? The sidewalk?
The sidewalk and the boulevard.
Sidewalk and the boulevard. So anything that comes off that highway that lands in my parking lot is city snow, county snow, or state snow?
If it's on the property.
If it comes off the highway, which is, they're putting 2 lanes of snow onto the boulevard. If it lands in my parking lot, what am I supposed to do with it? Put it in that snow pile? Why should I move your snow? It's not my snow.
But it's now snow on the property you control, and that snow has to stay on that property.
Right. So what I want you guys to do is get a hold of the county, because I'm tired of moving the snow off the side of my building, out of my window wells. They're bouncing the snow off the side of my building, and they're putting their snow in my parking lot. If I can't put it on the boulevard, I don't want their snow in my parking lot. Because that's just more snow for me to get rid of. I mean, that's the game you guys are playing. You don't want us putting our snow on your part of the city property. I don't want your snow on my property then. That's the game we're playing here. Isn't it? I mean, if the city's got, if the county's got, how wide is 2 lanes of traffic? 16 feet of snow, we got 10 inches of snow, add that up. That's a big pile of snow that he's kicking over to our side of the road. And it's landing in our property, and we have to move it. And they come by and they pound in my buildings. Now, the other thing I like that snow on the boulevard for, it protects my customers' cars. They're not getting covered when the plow comes by at 50 miles an hour, blowing snow 20 feet off the highway into my property and possibly damaging my car and blowing out my windows, breaking the seals on my windows. I got one window I had to change because they broke it last year, and now I have mold between pieces of glass. So I had to pull my building apart because they can't slow down. I've called the city or the county, and I've complained, and nothing happens. So I'm coming to you guys. You are the city council. I want you guys to slow them plows down because I'm tired of cleaning it off my customers' cars, which are on my property, off your right-of-way. And I don't want the snow from the highway bouncing off my windows anymore. When I was talking to Ray the other day, I no sooner hung up with him, and they blew by and covered every window off my front building. Literally, it was pouring off the building. I thought someone was coming through the windows. It doesn't seem to do any good when I call. So what are we supposed to do? We're on the highway. I understand it. I mean, you look at Brian Swanson's building, how much that thing's been beaten up because he's close, and they just come by and they pack his windows full. There's no reason. I mean, these are 10-ton trucks. They don't have to go 50 miles an hour to push 4 inches of snow. I mean, I can push 10 inches going 5 miles an hour with my pickup truck. You know, there's no reason they have to go that fast through this town and blow the snow that far into my property. I don't want it in my property. So, I mean, if that's the game you guys want to play, I don't want county snow or city snow on my private property if I can't put mine on your property. That's just what the game we're playing here, isn't it? Or am I being wrong?
You have a good point, but I wouldn't call it a game. Can we talk to the county, Ray? Not that it's gonna do any good, but
Yeah,
can we talk
that
to them?
doesn't do any good. We've called them, we've talked to them on behalf of half a dozen to a dozen people along the highway. I mean, it's, whether it's the state or the county, I mean, it's their road. We get paid to remove the snow once during the winter, once.
Understandable.
You know, and it's not our road, it's the state road.
Right.
And the county gets paid to plow the state road. So, you know, that's kind of the pickle we're in. The reason that we wanted you to put it into a different location is that when we remove the snow off of the highway, it is a much more dangerous job for us, and typically we end up doing it on overtime, on off hours. And if we can get it in an area that we can get it during regular business hours, then it's regular work shift time. And it doesn't cost as much for us to do that, because we're not getting reimbursed for it. We're not getting reimbursed to move the county or the state's snow.
Nobody seems to get where I'm coming from.
Yeah, the only issue,
No,
John, is that,
I'm supposedly I'm just the bad guy in this whole thing.
right, but like when we talked on the phone, I mean, we've been going after this for how many years?
Yeah.
How many years? You went
Well,
back
at
to
least-
Fred,
at least-
you went to
oh,
John.
I bought that Boss snowplow 6 years ago.
Right, and you mentioned two specific times that were in the past,
Right, but from what I've gotten out of the past, you know, that's why I said,
But
I'll
has
play
Joe,
the game this time, I'll play it this year.
Has
we-
Joe ever
and-
not picked up?
Yeah, I've talked to him several times, and he was gonna put it back by the pole, and then, the instance that you're talking about, where it got picked up once, and then it was a big pile, then get picked up again. I mean, it was a winter from hell, it just kept coming, we just didn't have time to go get it right away, and then it froze so solid, we couldn't even move it. I mean,
But out on the highway, you guys can come from different angles to get it. Once it's back in that corner, you can't go into my neighbor's property. He's not real impressed with it being there either, where you guys want me to put it, because now it's harder for him. You know, so I'm trying to find a happy medium, but, I mean, you know, I'm also taking care of a lot of extra snow that doesn't belong to me. I mean, if you really want to get down to it,
Well,
you know.
everybody along the highway has that issue.
and I
Everybody.
understand it, you know, I can deal with it to a point, but when I'm getting accused of not working with you guys, I mean, I just think I spent a lot of money working with you guys. You know, I mean, I didn't need a Boss snowplow, I had a perfectly working four-wheeler, and it worked great. Everyone used to laugh, they said, you're never gonna do it, and then they saw it work, they went, holy shit, this thing works good. You know, and now, okay, so I bought a plow, and I worked with you guys, and every time I've worked with it, I've gotten stuck. You know, so if you say, well, you work with us, I'll give you one more try. And if it don't work, the Boulevard works for me, because then you guys come get it.
Yeah, you're forcing us to come get it as quickly as possible, because it's not only blocking the sidewalks, because it goes out that far, it's also
But I keep everything.
blocking the alley.
I actually keep the sidewalks pushed up so that people can walk through there. And I keep it clean all the way out to the corner.
Right,
The
but they're
whole
coming-
part,
they're
not
walking all the
just
way.
the one pass that little thing works with. Your little plow that she's talking about that leaves snow all over the place, I get it right down, because I don't want someone slipping and falling. I salt it, I clean it, you know, I keep it clean, except for the very end of it, and I keep vehicles away so they can walk around it. It's not like I'm leaving a 40-foot pile of snow, it's tall, I agree. I'm not saying it's not.
Okay, but I'm working off of complaints. So your pile that you put on the corner, there's obviously people who don't like that, both on staff and in the public. So that's what I'm dealing with too. So it's not all Shangri-La, what you
I
have
didn't
there.
say it was all Shangri-La.
Well, you know, it's
You know, but I
something we're
mean,
trying to deal
you
with.
know, if we can do some other stuff to help it, like get the county to slow down, because then maybe I won't have it all the way back. And I mean, I'm moving a lot of snow. I have more snow in the front of my road on my parking lot than I do on the back half.
But you do realize we have no control over
We'll
those
talk to the
guys.
county
I mean, we
again.
talked to them.
We'll try to
Yeah,
see if we
yeah,
can
you
get them to
actually
slow
do,
down.
there's a speed limit in town. Slow them down. Speed limit's a speed limit.
Yeah,
I mean, she lives on the highway, it bounces off hers.
Right.
They hit Mary Ann's
Well,
building, they hit
I'll go
Chris's
talk,
building,
I'll
they
go
hit
talk to,
everyone's
I'll go
building.
talk to the police chief, and, my guess is that they're going 35.
No,
I understand, I'm just gonna say, you know,
then they should go 25. Tell them, hey,
Right.
you're going too fast through our
We'll
community.
talk to them to see if we can get them
And
to slow down.
you're throwing snow on buildings. I put a lot of money in that old
know,
building to make it look the way it did. And, you know, I have to go out there in the middle of winter and wash the snow and the salt that's on 4 feet above the windows that's stuck there.
right.
You know, so, I mean, it's not like I'm not working with you
John,
guys.
I get that. I mean, we've been yelled at from everything from buildings like yours to signs that are getting damaged because of
Yeah,
not
so,
our
I mean,
plowing.
There has to be something that can be done. That's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you. We will, like I said, we will talk to them to try to get them to slow down. I don't think it'll do any good, but we will try.
Can I ask a question, Jeremy?
Yeah.
And Ray, or even Joe? John, if you send, like, any mailboxes and stuff that we damage, Joe, we take care of, we pay for it, don't we?
Yeah, if we break them off, yeah,
Okay.
we replace them.
How about a deal here of him turning in a bill to the county for breaking the seals for a window replacement? Maybe if they
He'd
get,
have to take that up with yeah, they have to take that up with the county.
well,
The
I mean,
city wouldn't be
that's a
involved
start,
in
man.
that.
If- The point I'm trying to get at, John, maybe if you get enough of these complaints that keep coming in to them and get billed for them, that they'll do something with it.
Yeah, possible.
That they can see that they're causing some damage and they'll,
Yeah, that's possible.
I mean, that's an approach I would take. Get a couple of bills and send them in.
Can we get a legal opinion on that, Mr. Percola? Or a quick,
Well, a lot of issues are brought up, which are you asking?
no, I mean, it's trying to collect from the county for, or slowing them down even.
Well, going through the county, I'm sure you can attempt what George said there, to put in a bill and see how they respond. I mean, it's the practical approach. You don't need a legal opinion to give you that.
Why don't you talk with Ronnie Milbrath? He's on that board.
we
You
can,
know, go right and talk face to face with them.
The biggest thing is they gotta slow the plows down.
Well,
No reason that they're throwing that much snow, I mean, they're 20 feet into my parking lot, if you measure from the road. How does snow fly that far if it's got a bank in front of it? You know, I mean, they're 20 feet inside my parking lot.
don't,
You guys say there's only a 4-foot right of way.
It's up to my garage.
There you go.
All right,
How far
just,
is your garage from the road? 20
just-
feet?
Yeah, 20 feet.
on the insurance or making a claim, we've had some similar issues from time to time. Somebody, you know, when people are parking on the boulevard, that's where they have to park during the winter. And, you know, say, the snow, like, what was it, last year? Year before, we had all that snow, and there was no place to put it. And so, I mean, the snow was coming off of our plows, and we're not tearing through town by any means, but it picked off a mirror. And the person claimed, and we put it into our insurance, and our insurance did deny it because it's snow and we're in a perfectly reasonable, and that may be the argument, is they're not reasonable in the speed they're going. But in our case, we were going in an operating fashion, and they said that just happens. And so the person's insurance
You
uncovered.
guys don't run 45 miles an hour through town.
No, and
They go 45 miles.
right, and that may
an
be
hour,
the difference.
that's really easy.
That may be the difference on your claim, is just, if they're going so fast, then maybe their insurance won't cover it, you know, if they're not going per this
No, I've actually
operating, but I don't know.
the truck number actually called them, and then just like, we'll talk to the guy. Yeah, right, and the next day he drove by the same.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Well, okay.
it doesn't really
At least to give
go
them a
from me,
ticket.
maybe it would go good from you guys, if you got a call.
Thank you.
Maybe they should be getting tickets.
That's what I suggested.
Well, we'll
Any-
talk to both, we'll see.
Is there any other comments?
Chris Reckla, 1204 7th Ave. Where I plowed is it okay the way we're doing, the way I'm doing it now? You know, how we plow it down to the end of that one way and they scoop it up and take it away?
I'm not sure.
Joe.
If you're plowing it down and depositing it on the sidewalk,
On the corner.
on the corner, no, because you're covering the sidewalk up.
What am I? there's
Can you
two
just,
ways-
can you just turn it when you got a V-plow, right?
Yeah, but you can't turn in there.
Can you kind of put it right around and keep it off the sidewalk?
There's so much snow there, because I only have 10 feet.
Yeah.
And I got 2 lanes of traffic going on to that 10 feet.
Uh-huh.
And it's all slush, it's so heavy. We
Yeah, I
went
know.
up and down
I
that
see the
thing
pile.
A bunch of times, and,
Yeah.
you know, if we push it down there, we gotta go up to the highway and go there. I mean, I don't
And if
care
you-
when you come get it, and
Is
it's
it
not.
possible to plow it in
And
the
it-
opposite direction?
That's what I was just gonna say, the only option he would have is try going the other direction towards Grease Lightning and then pushing it back that
That'd
way.
be even worse.
Would it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I don't care when you guys come get it, I mean, you always came and got it, and, you know, I don't care if it's a week later or so, but I just didn't wanna get a ticket for it. You know, I had the cops call me and say, you can't put it on the sidewalk. Well, that's all there is in front of my shop is a sidewalk.
Yeah, it's all sidewalk.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't give a ruling on it, because, I mean, that's the
What's the-
ordinance.
Joe, why don't you stop up there tomorrow and see what the situation looks like and see if there's a possible solution?
Yeah.
yeah, there's that street sign right there and the fire
Right.
hydrant too.
The fire hydrant sits right there off the
Yeah,
corner of the
go
building.
around the corner. I mean, it's a really bad spot.
And you can't push it there and get a pile and back up in the road, because the highway's there, and push it further
Right.
that way either, because you might get peeled there, so that isn't gonna work.
Yeah, and it's not really obstructing anybody's view because it's a one-way street.
Yeah.
You know, going in, it's a one-way street.
Yeah, we've had that discussion on that corner because of the one-way,
Yeah.
but, it's, the sidewalk's the issue. So,
Just take a look tomorrow, see if we can
all right,
come up with anything. But just,
It's a tough
you weren't the only one, the police talked to a lot of people
Yeah,
that,
yeah, that's
so,
what they said, that they had talked to about 80 people or so. All right, I just wanted to make sure it was okay just to keep doing that, so just so I didn't get a ticket.
I need to get with these
Yeah.
guys and see what we can do.
yeah, we'll have to come up with something,
Maybe you can get Jim involved too.
yeah. Yeah, okay.
Okay, thanks.
just take a look. If there is one where they have to make an exception, then we have to make an exception, but if we can figure something out, we'll try to figure something out.
Yeah, he's pretty Johnny on the spot plowing, so, you know, there's always a big pile there, and, you know, streets take us a couple days to clean up. We worked on them 3 days this time, and the problem is it's all slushy, and then if it gets cold and it freezes, then I can't move it. I'll just come over and we'll look at it and see if we can come up with something.
Hi, I'm Pete Zanone. I do the plowing at 1204 7th Avenue. And yes, have to be Johnny on the spot with that place. We're talking, you know, like everyone knows, the highway, the road commission has to put it somewhere. If you don't stay on top of it, we have the trouble with the ice like we was talking about. Just moving that snow is very labor intensive. It's hard on equipment. There's not much. We looked at what we could do. As far as trying to turn it or put it somewhere else, pretty much you're gonna end up on the highway. I end up on the highway just trying to move it as it is, going straight down in front of the building. I mean, we can take a look at it, but I'm here to tell you, it's just gonna take forever.
Well, here's where we get pressure. For the last number of years, pretty much the council, by hearing from the public, wants to have the sidewalks open. And by the time we can get to the snow that's put on those sidewalks, we can't move it. I mean, we heard that even if we can get to it, it's not the best situation. But, you know, by the time we get to that pile, you know, we can't move it. And so we're caught in a catch-22. Either we gotta relax on the sidewalks getting done, or we gotta figure something out. So you can see, I mean, we're just trying to figure out how do we address what mandate we've been given, is to try and keep those walks open so people don't walk on the highway, because that's what's happening now.
Right, and
So, you know,
the other alternatives basically let it go. I mean, then you got the whole length, you know, that's unusable
that is, I mean, if that's what the directive is to us, then, you know, that releases that part of our stress, you know, that, you know, we try to figure it out and we can't. So, I mean, we're gonna have to look at each one of these cases and try and figure out what we can and can't do.
And like last year, we've had, you know, tremendous amount of snow to deal with. It was backed up in front of the garage doors, and, you know, it wasn't us that complained. You know, we dealt with it. And that's about all I have to say. I mean, we've all got to deal with it. And hopefully we can come to some sort of resolution that, you know, can satisfy the public as well. But that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to address the council? You're the last one. If you want to, you can.
Last one.
Yeah.
If you want to, you can come up.
Might as well, what the heck? I don't really live on the highway, but.
You can be on anything you want.
Okay, I just wondered, whatever happened to that broom they used to come around with? Because that really did a nice job.
The what?
The broom off the skid steer.
We still have the broom. We use it still on Main Street, and it's too wide for the regular sidewalks.
Yeah, that's
We only use it on Main Street, but we do have a small broom for the yellow machine.
If you get too much snow, you can't use the
And if you
broom.
get too much snow, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's only good for a couple inches. Cleans it great. It cleans it,
So take that broom.
yeah,
They did do a better job,
yeah.
Really, that's all I got.
It's, the problem is too with the broom, it can't handle the heavy wet snow, especially the highway snow. It's not gonna handle it. It's very, especially if it gets a little deep. Okay,
I'd like to make a couple comments on this. I realize along the highway, it's a mess, and it's going to take everybody getting together, working, figuring what can be done. But my biggest concern is on the side streets. I can name you a half a dozen spots in town where they've plowed and blocked the sidewalk. Now, I know a elderly gentleman who tries to walk his grandson to the bus. He got 2 blocks to go. He has to climb over a 3-foot-high snowbank right now without going out on the road. So if he goes out on the road, my question is, who's liable if he gets picked off? The person who put the snow there, or the city who didn't enforce the ordinance to make those people stay off? Make them keep it clean. I'm not saying plow the sidewalk. Everybody, I'm against having everybody clean your own sidewalk. It'd be nice if they could, but some people just can't for whatever the reason. But you can still walk on a sidewalk. But when you start pushing snow, so you can park your vehicle and blocking off a sidewalk where you got to climb up over it, that's my concern.
is there anything on that? Who would be the responsible party there?
I don't think it's a black and white issue that one would be and one wouldn't be, and I know that sounds probably like a lawyerly response, but.
But you know, if I'm there, say with my grandson, this isn't me, I said an elderly person, but it's not me. Actually, I think this guy's my age. But really?
Yeah.
Okay, I can't get over the bank with my grandson to get him to that school bus, so I go around the road, and he or him or both get run over or hurt bad, they're gonna sue somebody. And where are they gonna go? Where the most money is. Not that the city has it, but we got a big insurance policy.
That may be, but it's not always the only question to be asked, so it, you know, but it certainly is a concern.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, it's a liability
You can't dismiss
issue.
it out of hand, I would agree with you there, Mr. Meany.
I guess I do have one more question. Oh, do I have to?
Can I ask?
Could you give your name too, please?
Yeah, what is your
Jerry
name?
Applin. Jerry Applin.
Jerry
Yep, Applin.
Applin?
I have one more question. So, obviously, I'm not the person on the highway, but for everybody else that has all these issues, until there is something all worked out between everybody, what happens? Are they not going to get a ticket, or?
The instruction is we're not giving tickets right now.
Until you get it worked out?
We're gonna try and work it out. I mean, if there's a solution and the person chooses not to work with us on it,
Yeah.
then you might
Well,
get a ticket.
I'm just curious,
But
as a person
If
in
there's not
the
a
city, I
solution,
might have an
then
issue
we have
someday.
to deal with it.
Yeah, okay.
It's a case by case. I mean, each one is different. in
Well, I
how we
heard you
look at
saying
it.
that you guys need to all work together, so I was
Yeah.
just wondering, tickets are coming up right away or something.
Well, that's not what we want to do.
Yeah, right,
I
well,
mean,
no,
we
no,
just
I
want-
understand.
We've had more conversation in the last week than in the last number of years. So I think that's actually good, because
Sure.
we're talking to everybody, so everybody understands why we have these issues. If we can't fix it, we can't fix it.
We don't want a nasty city.
No, but
I
we
mean,
want
I
to
like living in
communicate.
Norway, I don't want to say,
We want-
gosh, you got to go to a board meeting every week because of this or that.
Yeah, but we want to communicate. There's a lot of
Yes.
times we get shut down.
Yeah,
We go try to work with somebody and they shut us down. So now, we're getting the communication.
Well, good.
So,
good, I was just worried about my friends, and no tickets. Okay.
Lee, what else you got?
When are we gonna, excuse me, when are we gonna have our next work session? Seeing as it was canceled last Monday?
yeah, now I'm thinking early December. It's probably when we're going to get it together.
Well, I'd like to see it get done as soon as possible, because there's quite a few things I want to talk about that we've been kind of hanging back on, and I think we're moving way too slow on it. Road salt, Joe, how are we? We in good shape for that? I know the price is up from last year.
Yeah, we're contracted and we're fine.
Okay, that's all I have.
Dr. Haynes?
My first question is, are we ready for winter? Do we have?
I think so.
Do we have machinery to unthaw lines this year, or
Oh, your weld machine?
we having something?
You were looking
I was
into
gonna bring that up during comments, so why don't you just you wanna do it now?
Go ahead.
All right, okay.
We're on the comments, so we might as well run with this one.
Okay. During the budget hearings this spring, I listened to your doc's concerns and budgeted money for a welding machine. I have a line on one that I was ready to purchase. And I wanted to hear from the rest of the council if I'm going to get the go-ahead and purchase that, or if that's something that you still want to do.
Did it make it to Rhinelander?
I haven't got the call yet. Didn't call them back because I wanted to hear what the answer to this question was going to be.
Well, personally, I think we should be contracting out the thing. One, their experience on it, two, the liability, and three, just the manpower. We don't necessarily have the manpower to do it, but with the welding machine as a specific, will it have other uses besides just thawing?
Yes, it has other uses. There's a three-phase generator and a single-phase generator on it. It's a four-cylinder diesel on a trailer, the one I was looking at. And, if something broke down and you needed a big 500-amp welding machine at the hydro to weld something, or a truck frame or something, yeah, you could do that with it. Is it gonna get used a lot for those things? Probably not.
Do we have an experienced man that could handle a welder like that?
It depends on what the piece of equipment is. Some equipment, you have to be certified in order to weld on it. Hydro stuff, no, you don't need to be. But yes, Rick is a very good welder. He would be able to weld anything. So, I was just looking for some direction. Because if I bring it to you, and then all of a sudden it's a budgeted item, I have it in the budget. So,
My recommendation, number one is, the welding machine is only the first piece of equipment. How many feet of wire, lead do you have with?
it doesn't come with any lead, I'll have to
Okay.
purchase lead, but there's
When
money
you
in the
gotta-
budget for
When
leads.
you gotta start buying, say, a quarter of a mile of
Yeah.
lead, 2 leads,
Yeah.
for ground and, you're talking mighty bucks.
I need about 200, total of 400 feet of welding lead is what I would need.
400 feet ain't enough, Joe.
That's
That
what,
might get you to most places in town, but it ain't enough. Ask Peterson's how many feet they got.
okay.
And just ask them how many feet they used last year to get to unthaw some of them. That should give you your answer right there, how much you should have. Number two, I agree with Jeremy. We don't have the manpower for it. If you're gonna start tying up two guys when you only got a four-man crew, what are the other two gonna do? Sit there and twiddle your thumbs? No, it ain't worth it.
On that note, I would like
There's-
to add that if I could.
There are years you don't even use the thing. So then you got all this money, I don't even know what the price of it is, Joe, but I just think it's a bad
Well,
situation.
new it's a
the way around.
$24,000 machine, but it was a used one for 7 with 3,000 hours on it. 7,
But
say
how-
8,000
How
bucks.
many times would you use it?
I don't know. I can't answer that question, George.
No.
I don't have any idea.
It's gonna spend more time parked in the garage
Yep.
than it is being in use.
But I'm asking the question because I was asked to investigate it, and that's what I'm doing, and bringing it back to the council.
Well, and because
for a
it's a
decision.
used machine and we're kind of time crunch on it, I felt it was best if Joe brought it to the council now, rather than waiting for
No, I
another,
agree.
well, rather than waiting for another work session.
No.
Bring it tonight
Yeah.
and just get the feeling. I'm gonna agree with George in my opinion of saying no.
I agree. I don't think we should purchase it at this time for the manpower reason. Better off just contracting it out.
I mean, obviously, what I wanted to add was, you know, there's 4 guys that work in that department now, 5 if you count the working foreman, and 6 if you count the mechanic. If it comes to a big freeze up and there's services and mains freezing up and the guys are plowing snow because of snowstorms, I don't have anybody to run the welding machine. So I'd be hiring out anyway.
So the reason I brought this up was because we spent over $30,000 last year.
Yes.
And we had to send out men for every unthaw there was anyway, so
Yeah.
we had men there anyway.
There was
so
at least one person there.
So we were spending money on that man, plus we were renting the equipment. Last year would have paid for a new machine, as far as I could see, so that's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
And I'm certainly not an expert on whether we ought to buy it or not, but it seems like the city ought to have equipment to do a job
I
that
think,
they
John,
maybe even occasionally need. A welding machine is not gonna deteriorate sitting there.
If a main
And
froze
if
up
we
and you
need to
needed a
generate-
500 amp machine to thaw that main, then you would have it. You know,
well, I mean, Doc just, you know, you were sending out one man last year all the time, right? Now, if you got a machine, Doc, now you're sending out 2 men.
Yeah.
When you only got a 4-man crew and you take 2 out of it and send them for unthawing water,
Well,
I
that's
mean,
why I
what
brought
are
it
you
up, because I
gonna
was
do
told
to the other
that
two?
if we're sending out a man anyway, we spent
Mm-hmm.
more than we would've spent on a machine. And so that's why I brought it up. And I'm
all
sorry,
those
like I
things
said,
are true.
I'm not the expert in this, but I asked the question
Mm-hmm.
because it seems to me it would make economic sense, because it was at least 29,000. How much did we spend on unthawing pipes last year?
yeah, it was right in there. It was right in that ballpark. Yeah. So,
A typical year, we budget for 5. I mean, last year was an unusual year. No question about it, so.
And then you got the machine. So again, I don't feel strongly one way or the other, but I thought we ought to be ready for winter if we're gonna do something, or even think about it. We oughta-
And that's what I was getting ready for, so I heard 3 of the councilmen say no. I guess that's a majority, so we'll not be purchasing a welder.
What's your feelings, Lee? I mean,
What difference does it make?
Well, you mean I don't have a say?
Yeah, you certainly have a say.
Even though your say doesn't matter what you're saying.
If we got 3 that
How
are,
about if I abstain on this one? I can see both sides of the coin, but I think the manpower is a big issue. So no then.
Okay, that's 4.
What else you got, Don?
and I've asked before, and I'll ask it again, I know we can't set a time for the celebration, but what is the actual date of our Questco Centennial?
It's 2016.
I know that, but what's?
Well, it will be somewhere around July 4th,
what
give or
was-
take a couple weeks either way.
What is the actual date that the city was incorporated, where we actually
I don't know
celebrate?
that.
Okay, that's what I was
I don't
asking.
know that
So if there's
off the
some
top
way
of my head.
Okay.
So, but we are trying to finalize a committee. Would prefer not to be on it myself. So if anybody wants to be on a committee, it's a good committee to be on. Yeah. We have to get the papers and everything, so I think that would be one of the first things they would do is set a date.
What is the actual date? So you'd want to get close to that.
Yeah, I don't-
Was my
I don't know that
point
right off the
asking
top
the
of my head.
question again tonight, so if we could find that out.
I wasn't clear on that from last time, so I'll find that out.
And then I see that I drove down US 2 today and that we finally patched the road. And did we do that?
What they did was they had a crew come in and we milled what was there to smooth it out and take the bumps out of it on there and on Highway 8.
We did milling on 8 and 2, the intersection, and we did a little bit of patching there. And,
You could see something happen there.
yeah, it's not fixed yet permanently. It was patched to get through the winter without tearing up
But
everything.
it is much smoother now to ride.
Yeah, it is, a lot smoother. A lot of people called and commented about how nice it was after we milled it, so it was noticed by the public.
Joe, I hate to let a little air out of your balloon, but why did it take so long
Why did it take so long?
to do this?
Manpower.
This-
George,
No, don't worry about it.
well, you asked the question, and you put me on the spot, so I need to answer it, all right? We went out for bids to have a contractor come in, and those went out in June. Took a month to get bids back. We sent out 7 requests for bids to different contractors, and we received 1 back from Baco at an extraordinary price. I will not say what the price was, but basically, they didn't want to do the job, all right? And I refuse to
Excuse me,
pay that
Joe.
kind of
I
money.
didn't say that as an explanation. When we had the idea that, no, it was gonna cost us too much money and we weren't gonna get involved that much.
Right.
When that decision was made, why didn't we say, okay, let's see what else we can do to solve the problem quickly?
Because I was working with the county and trying to get them and other people to try to help me to get it fixed yet while there was still hot mix available in the UP. And it kept getting put off and put off. People wouldn't call me back, and eventually the hot mix was no longer available. And when that shut down the next day, I got a hold of Midwest Asphalt and got the planers out there and planed it off.
That was fine.
Took care of it.
It did turn out exceptionally
Yes,
good.
it did.
Really and truthfully. That I agree 100%.
What else you got there?
Well, in our packet, the city manager made some comment that if we were to discuss the ambulance and the fire department, we should bring it up under council comments. And I guess my comment would be that it's too bad that there wasn't room in the original building to fit everything that we need. And it sounds like this is the best situation is to build a whole new building for the ambulance, talking to various people. So I guess my opinion is that it sounds like they're doing a good job and we should give them our support. And if anybody else has any comments or do you want me to go on to my next?
Go ahead.
And my next comment would be a question about the letter we got from the Leif Erikson. Was there some problems or
There was,
miscommunication?
There was a miscommunication internally. There was some inaccuracies in that letter, though. They did have there was a bathroom open at Marion Park, plus we had porta-johns put out there. The one bathroom that was closed, we closed it down because we had to repair, we're in the process of repairing those toilets. So they weren't accurate. The power, I got a call at like 7 o'clock on Saturday morning, and we 7 or 8 o'clock, and within 45 minutes, we had it down there. As far as like the picnic tables, I called on Friday night, Saturday morning, the guys came in and got them. So, I mean, I think there was a miscommunication, internally, but we did act pretty quickly. So I guess that's our defense on,
Well, I just thought it ought to be brought up tonight since we all got I assume we all got a letter.
yeah, I took a little issue with the Marion Park comment because they said there were no bathrooms at Marion Park. There were bathrooms at Marion Park, you know, and we had those open and we had porta johns put out there. So, you know, I'm not sure if that's the whole committee that's writing that or just a couple.
Well, I'm sure we'll stay on top of it next year. And I think that's what they were asking in that letter, to see that this doesn't happen again.
Yeah, I'm not about to throw anybody under the bus, so we're just gonna let it go at that, and I'm sure that it will be passed out next year.
And then on this bill we have from Mao and Solello, it seems like there were 4 separate instances of draft complaint and on 4 different ones, and you seem to accelerate in price. Is there some reason for these, or what were these?
I don't know how the individual pricing goes on, I mean, it's $125 per hour.
Yeah, I realize that, but I was wondering why one draft and complaint was $1,700 and the other one was $131.
Probably different
What
types
were
of
these
complaints.
What were these complaints, or more of a curiosity, I guess, 'cause it's,
Why is that 1,700? Is that, I don't believe that's a single, that's not a single item, that's a conglomerate of time? Or is
no,
that?
the total is at the bottom, $3,410.54.
Yeah, I mean, what these things are for each prosecution gets brought before the firm to look through it and to authorize the warrants, come up with an individualized complaint, so that those things can be processed. And so each particular one that has come through, and I think there have been 7 or 8 last check that you had to go through that process with. I think that's the accumulation of that. I'm not familiar with this particular.
You know, I would just
means
wondering
of
on
showing
the
it's
details,
different
and
from
it
what we
looks
had
like
in our
4
office,
complaints
so-
there, and
We had asked for a breakdown, just so we knew which area, so that's police, it's administrative, so we know which area was.
Certainly, and we keep track of that as far as
Yeah.
what those individual things are. And so if you wanted more detailed information, it's certainly available, but that's what those things are. Probably the 8 different things, all the varying things without having it directly in front of me.
Anything else?
okay, so we can get some kind of detail. And I have one other thing. I think the community has to make a decision on what direction we want to see our economic development go. And one of the options we have is tourism. It's clean dollars, it provides services that the citizens can use, and if we're going to go towards that direction, I think we got a good start with the ski hill being open again, with the state park and the Piers Gorge. But I think one thing we have to do to cement tourism to the area is to develop the spring. In the manager's letter, he made some comment that they weren't going to give us the building back. And I don't think anybody was asking for a free building on the spring, but we should be able to work with Norway Springs. If they're not even using the water, maybe they'd be willing to sell the building, and we can do something, some other development to help cement that into town for tourism. There's lots of other areas, or lots of other things I thought of over the years that we can do. But again, I think the spring, and if we can somehow pass this off to the DDA and the Norway Area Planning Commission as far as coming up with ideas, I think it would be worthwhile. That's my comments for the night.
Chris?
Nothing tonight.
George?
I got to, Doc, getting back on this spring, I kind of agree with some of the stuff in the direction you're going. you know, maybe Ray, if you could get some feeling on what their ideas of it, what they want to do with it, price-wise and anything else. But the bottom line is, some of this, opening that building up for water in the wintertime, to me, that's going to be a disaster. You got people running in and out of there without being policed or anything, that thing will be smashed and hammered in no time at all. So I certainly don't agree going in that direction whatsoever.
No one suggested that.
Well, you had mentioned about how we could possibly do something to keep, so we could get water year-round, on them terms, Doc, and unless you
no one
don't have it
suggested
policed,
that.
you ain't, it's just gonna
Suggested keeping the spring
turn
open
into
for us.
disaster anyhow, so. But I don't see anything wrong with just exploring it to see what the possibilities are, Ray. I mean, there might be something come up down the road that we could handle without a lot of money being involved. And going back on that North Alert on the ambulance deal, my concern isn't the ambulance, whether they need the room or not. My concern is how it was handled. You got 3 people, mainly Jeremy, that's representing the council and all the people in Norway. And you got 1 vote. Now, outside of the minutes that are on this meeting that we got, the only sheet that was ever mentioned was the last 2 weeks ago on the minutes. And there was maybe 1 sentence that was involved in it. I had it to take with me, and I evidently misplaced the thing someplace. This is where my concern is. When you're representing everybody in town, you Norway Township, and Waseda Township are the 3 main votes on there, representing the people that are voting. And you've got $250,000 sitting there at your disposal. I think that an answer should come back to the council or the people that are representing, rather than just having 1 person representing anybody. You had said yourself, you thought it was the best for the ambulance. Jeremy, you got to remember, you ain't on there representing the ambulance. You are on there representing the council and the city of Norway.
I felt it was the best thing for the city and for the fire department.
But you did not come back to ask anybody else, did you?
I don't
And
have to come back
how-
and ask anybody else. I am put on that board to represent the city and make the decisions that I feel are in the best interest of the city. That's what I did.
How did this ever come about when there's nothing talked about in the minutes? May I ask you? You got a person representing the city, and all of a sudden they're going to spend $250,000 here. There's no minutes whatsoever in the minutes of the meeting any place along the line.
Well, I'm certainly not familiar enough with the situation that you're talking about, Mr. Ball, to give you an opinion. But if you would like me to look into that, I certainly can do it. The council wishes.
The minutes reflect the actions that happened at the meeting. There are discussions that are held after meetings, outside of meetings, discussions that have been going on for a number of years. Longer than I've been on that board, they've been discussing the ambulance moving out. And that decision isn't something that just happened because of the fire department getting the tanker. It's been discussed. It was discussed when the table and chairs were bought. It was discussed when the rent increased. It started to really get discussed then, because back then, Norway Township offered land to North Alert to build because they were upset with the city for raising the rent. So this is not something that just happened. It's been discussed for years.
Well, Jeremy, you've been on the board for 3 years, because you took over when I left off. Okay, at the 3 years ago, the only misunderstanding that was involved when I left that board was the table and chairs. And that very possibly was part of my fault, because I assumed that the city would take responsibility for paying for 1/3 of it, in which they never did. So the ambulance did pick up and pay for 2/3, and the firemen paid for 1/3. No, there very possibly could have been a misunderstanding between me and Mary, Ray,
No,
or whoever.
George, let me clarify that misunderstanding. The fire department is the city. That's where the misunderstanding was. And when they said, and I know in talking with the ambulance, and even our volunteers, when there was talk about the city paying a third, the firemen paying a third, and the ambulance paying a third, the firemen meant the volunteers. Because the city paid a third through the fire department budget. And that's the misunderstanding. And both the volunteers and the ambulance, they don't understand, or at least at that time, they had a misunderstanding that when we talked about the city, that's our fire department. That's no different than the electric paying for something, or police paying for something, or whatever. I mean, it's a department. Fire is the city. They're in the city's budget. So the city did pay a third through the fire department budget. The volunteers said, we aren't gonna, we're not using our funds for chairs, and that's when it kind of, got.
Well,
and that was it was, like you said, it was a big misunderstanding.
And I was part of it.
Yeah,
Because
and
most
we
likely I didn't make it clear at the time, and that's where the misunderstanding come in. But the city got the blame for not picking up their third of the chairs. That's the bottom line of the whole thing. So this supposedly is where all the hard feelings started.
Well, we tried to explain to them about the budget, and I guess, sometimes you just have to throw up your hands, because where else is the city then would pay 2/3. What other budget?
Yeah.
We didn't have a budget
Well,
anywhere else, and where would it come out of? Just the general fund, so the general fund would be paying for 2/3.
Maybe if we would have had a little bit better communications, maybe we could have split 50-50 and everybody would
and
have
that
been
would have been a
happy.
reasonable request
But
at the time.
it didn't go that far, and it left it with hard feelings anyhow.
But
But
I do-
regardless of the fact.
I do agree, George, I should have probably talked to everybody and then just informed the council when the discussions really took off. I'll take responsibility for that. I didn't talk to the council. I turned in the minutes and my notes from every meeting, but I didn't talk to the council members individually. So if you want to be upset about that and blame me on that, fine.
Well,
I didn't.
I'm not the only one that's upset about it. Because Norway Township have said it.
Norway Township's
all
fine
this-
with it.
Maybe the person representing just the same position as what you are, representing
when
Norway
I talked-
Township.
when I talked to their
Because the word isn't
representative-
getting back to the supervisors back there either.
When I talked to Norway Township's rep at the meeting Thursday, he had talked to the board and the supervisor. They were all fine with it. When I talked to Waseda Township's rep before the meeting, they heard their board and their supervisor had talked about it, and they're all fine with it. The only one with an issue of it is you.
Well, I'll tell you right then, Jeremy, somebody's lying. Because I've talked to 3 different people, and 3 different people didn't agree with it. Now, either they're lying to my face, or they're lying to you, or to their or their people that they're answering to. So, well, I guess that's it. I will guarantee you that this issue isn't over.
I'm going to throw my 2 cents in here on this, Jeremy. I went to the meeting, was it
Last Thursday.
last Thursday, and listening to the people involved, there was the impression that we were kicking the ambulance out. And that was how that started, I don't know. But one main person there was told, supposedly, that the city was kicking the ambulance out. And this is what really got the ball rolling. And then it was clarified after by Mr. Oja and Mr. Solda, who was the Norway Township rep, that was never said. All they were told was, when the new tanker gets here, there is not going to be room for your trailer. Just the trailer. The ambulance was never mentioned. Then finally, they said, oh, okay, well, maybe I didn't hear that right, whatever. The only thing I don't like about this, and I said it at the meeting, that's a lot of money. I'll agree with whatever this board wants. I'll agree with them, just like any committee that we have. I'll go along with them 100%. But as a taxpayer, I don't like it because they got all that money sitting there, and they're gonna go and buy a new building, which I really don't think they need. Maybe they do, but they had never even checked into seeing if they could expand the building that's there right now. They never did that. Since they have, and as it turns out, there's nothing they can do about it. But they should have looked into that first, and they also should have come to the three boards, say, hey, this is what we're looking at doing, this is what we're planning on doing. As up till 3 weeks ago, Jeremy, you mentioned it, they're looking for a place. And that's the first I heard of it, but he gave us a heads up on it. But still, all three boards should have been informed that this is what was going on. And now all of a sudden, they bought the property.
Lee, like I said, I'll take the blame for that, for not getting that information back to my board
But,
sooner.
and there was the other two boards also, Jeremy.
So, but I mean, just for this board, like I said, I will take the blame for that. I should have been talking to you guys earlier on it and letting you know earlier.
And then at the same token, if it was in the minutes of the North Ambulance, I missed it. If it was in previously, not just this past time.
In the minutes, only things in the minutes are what action taken. My notes may have included more. I don't remember what I wrote on my notes 3 months ago. 2 months ago or 3 months ago.
Well, I'll say this much, we have a great crew, and now with maybe Beacon pulling out in 2 months, 3 months, we're gonna need a bigger crew. That's it.
I agree with you, Lee. I think the way it was handled, I'm not putting all the blame on Jeremy, but I look at it from the standpoint of we're their landlord, the city is. They're paying the city rent, and it would have been a nice gesture to at least talk to your landlord about potential leaving, and I guess that comes down to the council. And that was never brought to us, and if there was anything we could have done to, they may have decided to buy the land regardless, but at least we could have had a discussion and say, let's look at our options, because it seemed, from the things that I had heard, that it was a given that that tanker was gonna go in there, and there wasn't gonna be room, and it would've been nice just to have a discussion with the council to give them some options. And one of the options probably would have been build your own building. It was more or less just the way it was handled, the way the information was getting back to us. And for the few meetings that I filled in for Jeremy, a couple times, informally, it's always been brought up. It may never be on the agenda, but even when it wasn't an issue, there was talk about breaking away and building something on their own. But I just feel the way it was handled from a city's perspective as being a landlord was not proper.
Well, I guess my comments, I'd like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And if you're still out hunting, good luck in getting something. The one other question I have is, well, when is our Santa parade? Do we have that?
That was out in the flyer, and wasn't that in the utility bill?
December 5th.
I just wanted to make sure, I'm kind of asking again so it's on TV, but December 5th will be the Santa parade. Parade is at 6, fireworks after. Is that how it goes? Was the fireworks before, parade is after? Okay. Okay, that's all I have. Joe, anything else?
Yes, I have two informational, one comment, one informational piece. On the manifest, just wanted to point out that the purchase power for last month was, again, only $27,000, which is extremely low compared to what it normally is. That's because of all the good water we've had at the hydro, and the units have been staying running. And on that same note, the last lightning storm we had, which ironically was probably only less than a month ago, we took a lightning strike down at the hydro, and it messed up some of the automation equipment. Just wanted to give the council the FYI that I have a gentleman from L&S Electric here working on the hydro. He showed up today. He's scheduled to be here through Wednesday. And we're looking at some of the programs in the PLC might have took a hit and got messed up, or possibly some of the electronic boards, but we'll start to troubleshoot it tomorrow morning.
Is there any way we can put protection on that, Joe?
Yeah, there is some lightning protection in there already. I'm looking at putting more in. And obviously, this would be an insurance claim also. We have a very high deductible at the hydro, but if it exceeds our deductible, we will be turning it in. So,
Do you know what the deductible is offhand, Joe?
25,000.
25?
Yeah,
Can we buy a lot of the lightning arresters for 25 grand?
yeah.
Joe, did you get a chance to put together figures on that wood?
Yeah, I got it right here, George. The expenses on the wood, bringing it into the shop was $3,200. And we received $4,000 of income on the sale of the wood.
So we made
$800.
$800.
Yep.
That goes into recreation.
I don't know where it's at. She's got it.
That goes towards the trees, which is in the recreation.
What was your second thing, John?
The two were the generation and then the purchase power.
Okay.
Just want to tell you, and we're
Garbage
doing
cans.
really good this month too.
Garbage
I mean,
cans.
We're halfway, oh, yeah, we can talk about that too. But we're doing very well with generation this month also. I'm expecting another low bill for this coming up month, this month that we're in right now, unless something happens.
What does it look like for the winter? Are they going to be passing more than normal?
I think that it looks like the reservoir levels are really full. They did a 5-foot drawdown for the fall, and then we got the rains, and then it filled it back up again. So they're sitting with a lot of water up there, and we should have a real good, steady run all winter long. So I'm looking forward to a lot of good generation down there. Really should help us out tremendously.
Ray, did you hear the news tonight or today on that they stopped that, or they're trying to stop that FERC deal on raising that?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a number of actions that are out there trying to stop the increase.
92.
What, I think tonight they said FERC's gonna put the increase on hold while
On
they
hold, right.
investigate.
Right.
And then Stabenow, Benishek, and Gary Peters have introduced legislation to block them from allowing that increase.
I know that the Michigan Public Service Commission has 20 complaints filed right now to FERC, so they have to go through each, all those complaints.
The other thing that Ray just brought up reminded me I was also going to ask. We've been looking at garbage trucks. The garbage truck that we have, we've been putting a lot of money into it. And I've got some bids on some new garbage trucks, and they're coming in at about $130,000, of which cash we have about $110,000 to pay for a new truck. With the dollar every that moves over into there, we get about $17,000 a year in that fund. So we're doing pretty good on it, and it's about time to be looking for a new truck. And the question that I had is there enough interest at the council level to go with these plastic dumpsters, small residential type, that where it self-unloads? It's got the wheels on it, plastic container with the flip lid. You pull it up to the back of the truck, push a button, it grabs it, flips it in, sets it back down. If we are interested in doing something like that, the reason that you would want to do that is it's going to save wear and tear on the two garbage men. It's not going to reduce the staffing levels any in that area. It doesn't turn into a one-man job, but workman's comp claims and stuff from back strains and things would probably go down. And then the other thing is needle sticks, grabbing the bags and getting stuck with needles and stuff that are in those bags. It's an adder of about $80,000 to purchase those containers. So I just wanted a little bit of insight from you guys on what your thoughts were there. because I have to make a decision which way to go.
Joe, you had mentioned that to me this morning, and we had chatted a little bit about it.
Yep.
After thinking about it today, I would, if we're gonna go and we're gonna go the extra $60,000, you said that the garbage cans we gotta buy?
It's 60 to 80, leans more towards 80 than 60.
Whatever.
Depends
but-
on the
yeah.
size, but,
Yeah, it depends on the size that we purchase.
and how many.
Then I would think if we're gonna spend that kind of money, that we gotta buy garbage cans. And second thing I talked to you about this automatic loading with one person. And you said, well, it's not possible because our alleys are too narrow and everything.
Yep.
Now, is it possible, say, if we had everybody put their garbage at one side of the alley, that truck would work, or no?
That truck is probably, I think the last estimate I've seen with a truck with a actuating arm
Side
was
one.
about 260,000. So that truck is quite a bit more with the arm. The backflip that we looked at is only about, what, $8,000?
8,000 more
Yeah,
for the
It's
backflip.
not that much, but it doesn't
Oh,
release the guy. That's the thing.
Well, I thought it was a lot more that you had mentioned this morning, Joe.
No, no.
Well,
The back
my-
unloaders are 8, and I didn't even quote the side automatic one.
No,
so-
we did before.
You did
though,
before, though.
And when we quoted it before, when I
Yeah.
saw it before, it was about 260,000. They're quite a bit more.
Not knowing that rate, that they were
Right.
only $8,000 or $10,000 for the back, but if we were gonna spend that, say, that extra 60 on the buckets, that we gotta buy buckets for this thing, then I would think that, maybe we should look a little bit deeper. Because now we're spending $60,000 for buckets, that we could go the extra and save the extra manpower.
But you're still gonna have the 60 grand for the buckets.
Right, that's
Even
what
if
I
you
mean.
get
As
the
long
car.
as if we're gonna spend the 60,000,
Right.
then let's possibly look at going the extra, eliminating a guy with it, and going with the extra money. I mean, it just,
And where are we gonna get the money for $80,000 for containers, and then if we were gonna go the extra mile for
Yeah.
another,
130, an extra 130 for the truck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a stretch. We're okay right now with the truck, with the little self-unloaders on the back, 2 of them. And then you're talking 60, 80 grand extra for the containers. And we would go through rural development for that
Right.
extra loan.
That's what I was gonna say. You'd get the vehicle through, you finance the vehicle and then use your cash to pay for the containers, or a good chunk of
is
the
that gonna mean
containers.
we're gonna have to raise rates then to cover that loan?
Well, I would, with the cost of garbage trucks, I would, during budget hearings, I was gonna suggest you might wanna look at the garbage rate a little bit more to cover the next new truck, so you have enough.
Bump that dollar we put aside now
Yeah,
up to
maybe go to
$2
$1
or
and
$1.50 or something.
whatever it comes up to be, we'd figure it out.
That way we can have full cash for the next truck.
Yeah, and you just pay cash for the truck.
On this particular thing, I don't think we should be spending that much extra money for cans to put the backflip on. That's my
and-
vote's no.
And that's
I don't
fine.
think we should.
I'm just,
Well, it's good to look into everything.
yep,
And
I
for,
gotta have direction.
excuse me, general information, we all know the city of Detroit's broke, and they're having a big auction. I was reading about it in the Sunday Detroit Free Press. They got like 170-some garbage trucks, one-arm garbage trucks that they're gonna put up for bids, plus police cars and all kinds of other equipment. I'm sure if you went online somehow, you could just look at it anyway. But I mean, 170-some garbage trucks, and who knows what they're like. I mean, for the 20 minutes it would take to go online and see all this stuff, and so I think it was a one-day sale.
I think they quit doing garbage collection.
Wouldn't hurt to look at it.
I seen that, Hadley.
And Joe, with the new garbage truck, did we look at putting a plow on the front so they can do alleys while they're going through?
No,
Had to check.
no plow on a garbage truck.
It's heavy
Those
enough.
ones down Detroit probably have the plow on them.
Chicago puts them on.
Now, Joe, you're talking about these garbage cans, does that mean everybody in town who had garbage service would get a can?
Correct.
And then that would be the limit that they could put out for that week, so if did buy the cans, it might reduce our tipping fees significantly, because then people won't be putting out 5 and 6 cans, which I see quite frequently.
Well, Joe, with that, was that for one set of cans? Because the cans I know we looked at are 50 gallon, and our residential
The
allows 100
cans
gallon.
that I quoted were 96 gallon
Oh,
cans.
Yeah,
they were
that-
100
and-
gallon. or-
And those are probably too big.
Nobody's gonna wanna get a 100-gallon can in
Yeah.
their garage. I can
Yeah.
tell you that right now.
So I was thinking of around a 50 gallon can, which would bring the price down a little bit on them to more of that $65,000 range
We'd be
probably.
limiting people to 50 gallons.
Yes.
Even but right now, they're allowed 100 gallon.
They're allowed 100 gallons a week, yeah.
We would have to sit down and come up with the program because of the ordinance with 100 gallons. You know, they need 2 cans versus 1 can, to get that, you know.
Maybe people could be given 1 can and purchase 1 can if they want 2.
Some of the other garbage vendors that I talked to, they do a program like that with their residents, where they purchase a can.
So people could purchase their can.
Yeah.
How much does each individual can cost?
They were
It
about
was
50 bucks.
$64, somewhere right in that, $64, $65.
Depending on who you looked at, they were
Yeah,
plus or minus 50
there's
bucks.
several different companies and they vary a little bit, and size. But that's a ballpark figure for a can.
What was interesting is that, I mean, we looked at the 35-gallon, the smaller can, the 50, some are 45, 50-gallon, and then they've got the huge 96-gallon can.
Yeah.
The cost per can, it's amazing that it's not that much different. I mean, I would've thought the spread would've been a lot more, but it really wasn't. So, you know, you're gonna have to deal with, if you look at that, I mean, I could wheel one in, we got one back over here. I could wheel one in, I mean, nobody's gonna wanna put that thing in their garage. It's just so big.
Well, doesn't
The
it sit
50 is-
outside with a cover that's weatherproof or not?
If it's outside, if it's outside 100% of the time, it's gonna get damaged, stolen, you know, it's not gonna make it. So, you know, typically, in other places that I lived where I had these cans, you wheeled it into your garage, and the 50-gallon size is about the size that everybody was getting. That's a pretty standard size. And they're easier to handle. That big, huge can, I mean, you know, unless you're strong enough, I mean, it would be tough to wheel around too.
You can fit a lot of bags, the white kitchen-type bag in those 50-gallon cans. More than what people, in my opinion anyway, more than what somebody would generate in a week. That's a lot of garbage. But
I drive by garbage cans and I see a lot more out than I ever put out for some reason.
yeah, some people put quite a few out.
Anything else, Joe?
No, that's pretty much all
Mary?
I got.
Tricia? Ray?
If you would like to try and get that special meeting scheduled, we can do that before we leave. Just looking at, I mean, we're already, next week is Thanksgiving week. You know, you could possibly do that on the 24th. I'd have to look at the calendar, but I don't think we have anything on that Monday night. The next week, we have a council meeting on the 1st, and we could do it on Tuesday the 2nd. You know, get it in, try to get it in as soon as possible.
So anytime is good for me.
Or the 8th.
Or the 8th. You know, it all depends on urgency, you know, if you want to try and get it in as soon as possible. So anyway, you
How's
hit me up at the end.
how's the 8th look for the night of the 8th? Chris? Let's plan for the special meeting the night of the 8th.
Is that going to be too long for you, or?
No. I mean, it's been canceled once already, and I just want to know, I'd rather get this over with.
So
Get this meeting, there's stuff to be hashed out.
regardless of the weather, we'll have it the night of the 8th, 7 o'clock on the 8th,
Okay.
Rain or shine, or snow.
or blizzard, whatever.
Blizzard, okay.
When can we make it, Trish?
Okay, anything else, Ray?
I have nothing else.
Anything?
I have nothing.
Looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion made by Chris, supported by George. Roll call.
I didn't get that.
Motion made by Chris, supported by George. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.